There we go. We are live. Happy Thursday from Orlando, Florida. We're trying out a new time tonight. We got 6 o'clock instead of 7. Let us know down below if you like 6 or 7, if you're watching the replay or watching live. But we start off the same show every single time asking, where are you watching from today? Let us know. You guys watching local? Are you thinking about moving to the area? Do you already live here but just want to know a little bit more about your hometown? Let us know in the comments down below. And as always, make sure you ask your questions throughout the show. It doesn't have to be the stories we're talking about, but tonight I've got a loaded script for you guys tonight in terms of how many stories we're going to try to get through. So hopefully you guys enjoy it, whether you're watching live and or watching the replay. So let's get into the comments over here. We got Stephanie checking in from Simpsonville, South Carolina. We got Miami Coffee checking in from, guess what, probably Miami. We've got Nick checking in from Maryland. Good to see you guys. So let's keep going down below. Chet going in says, like this time, was shocked. Mills 50, what's going on? Bailey's checking in from O-Town. What's going on, Bailey? How are you? Also, do you guys see this new little chat on the side here, like right over here? Can you see that live? I'm kind of curious what that looks like. You can keep up to date with what everybody's saying along the way. All right, let's get into our first story of the night. This is Osceola County approves a $20 million TDT investment for another expansion of Champions Gate, which some people are going to be stoked about and other people are going to be like, oh my gosh. But Laura Kinsler from the Growth Spotter put up this article just yesterday, or actually, gosh, 3 days ago now. Osceola County and Redevelopment will partner together on a second major expansion to the conference center at the Omni Orlando Resort at Champions Gate. And so the county commissioners approved a $20 million investment here. And I think this is actually great when you think about getting outside of maybe the typical Orange County Convention Center, and you start getting into where all the Airbnbs are at, everything up and down the 27 area. Champions Gate is primed for something like this. And if you've ever been to the Convention Center, it's actually really nice. They've got a lot of cool things going on, a lot of events that are going well, and I think it's well put on overall. And so let me know what you guys think. The Champions Gate area, obviously traffic, a concern for many, but the golf's great. I think the location of everything is fantastic as well. Magic and Miles checking in from Green Bay, Wisconsin, working with Lee to move in March. Congratulations. That's so cool. We are stoked to work with you. Mark says he can see the little thing over there. I think it's cool. Show the comments on stage. It's very cool. David says, hey, normally in Scotland, but tonight I'm in Disney's Saratoga Springs. That's sick, David. I'm so glad you're watching. Tuning in. You come all the way from Scotland to watch in Orlando. Appreciate that. Let me know. Are you guys just visiting? Are you thinking about moving here? That'd be cool to know. So yeah, let me know. This Champions Gate area, kind of a massive, massive expansion. All right, number 2 here, story of the evening. This is actually a story from our in-house writer, Jim, with the Orlando Reel. He said, safety and Sunrail highlight from Orlando's latest budget. And so this past week, the Orlando City Council met and they've ratified the newest budget, which is $1.8 billion on September 22nd. And there's a few things that they're starting to change in regards to overall investments in our area. One is going to be a $25 million increase to public safety. And what the heck are they going to do with that? It's going to be 16 new police officers, paramedic cross-training program for firefighters, as well as some more infrastructure in the area. It's going to be economic focus with $7.5 million earmarked for roadway pavement, another $4.5 million for sideway, bridge, and trail rehab. There's a whole bunch of other neighborhood projects that are hopefully going to be improvements. But when you start thinking about safety is the number one thing people think of what they want in a community that they live in. And so seeing Orlando reinvest in that, I think is a really great one. They're also investing into Sunrail operations transfer. This whole story around who runs Sunrail? Why doesn't it run on the weekends? All of these kind of questions that people have. It's because of how and why it's run. And so before I get into too much of that, Jim also wrote another really good article. So downtown Orlando, at the same time, we're considering a multimodal O-line from downtown to Soto. And so if you look right here, I put this picture up on the thumbnail, actually. So southbound view of the Sunrail corridor. And check this out. If you're watching live, let us know in the comments. This is pretty ridiculous, actually, when you think about what's currently there and the opportunity that we have to invest up and down what the Sunrail could be, I think is a really big deal. These renderings look fantastic. And it reminds me, I actually just came back from Charlotte with a bunch of the people from Orange County and the city and Seminole County. And one of the things that they talked about was years ago, we had the opportunity to get light rail in Orlando. It was a federal investment that they were willing to make in Orlando. And the governor actually vetoed it, apparently. This is what they're telling me. And since we vetoed it, the Charlotte actually got that money to build the light rail, and to see what's happened in Charlotte over the past 10 years after that investment is pretty remarkable because of what we see right here. You have up and down having the accessibility to go up and down. It kind of spurs the growth right off of the Sun Rail. In Charlotte, it was wild. It was 5 or 6 o'clock. We got off of the light rail to grab a bite to eat, and there were just people everywhere. And they were like, hey, listen, 5-6 years ago, this was actually all industrial burnout. Like, just, it was not a great area. And now we look at the billions of dollars that were invested because it was so easy to do so with multimodal transportation, which we just don't have here in Orlando. So if this existed, let me know, like, would you guys invest in this? Whether you're a business downtown, or would you use it if it was available to you a little bit more? Speaking of Scotland, David says, I'm normally in Scotland, but in Disney's Saratoga Springs. Robert says, what's up from Claremont? Bailey says, yay, Jim. All right, let us know what you guys think. All right. So speaking of the multimodal trains and that sort of thing, Brightline's been a big thing here in Florida in general, going from Miami all the way up through to Orlando. And they have now 2 years of data to figure out if people are using this. Is this something that we should continue investing in with more train cars, with more routes? They're also obviously talking about, we've talked about on past shows, of the investment of bringing Brightline from Orlando all the way down through Tampa and sort of connecting that loop around from Miami all the way back up through here and down to Tampa. I know I would use it, go watch a Bucks game, go down to hang out in Tampa. There's a lot to see and do there without having to jump on I-4, I think would be great. But this article by the Tampa Bay Times says 2 years of Brightline brings more riders and obviously challenges. And so it goes on to talk about some of the data. 3.1 million riders have taken through the entire trip from Orlando to Miami. And there's a lot of folks using it as, an alternative, obviously, to their car, but using it an opportunity to be able to work, to be able to say, I'm going to take that 3.5 hours on the train and instead of drive the entire time. And people are using it more and more. And so I'm excited to see some reinvestment back into Brightline. But it looks like fares, this is the one thing I've heard often. One of the reasons maybe I won't use it is because the fares are so expensive. They're saying that on average, the rate of Brightline over the past year did see a little bit of an increase, but just about $71. And in July, the long distance ridership from Orlando to Miami had 164,000 passengers. If you're one of those people, let me know. This is something that you guys are using. Dave says, I've ridden it many, many times, and I love it. A different Dave checking in from Oxford, Michigan. Thoughts on Lake Alfred? Do you think it will build up and get some retail and grocery stores in the near future? Near future, we have to define that. I think it's one of those areas like a Winter Haven or what Davenport was 15 years ago. I think it's one of those outlying cities that will eventually get backfilled in. You're going to have an awesome opportunity to invest in real estate at a fair price, much cheaper than some of those other areas near the core areas that are blowing up. But you're going to have to wait a little bit longer for some legit more retail and grocery and all that good stuff. All right, let's keep going. So the Growth Spotter, we got another one. Good article by Laura today. Actually, this was Tyler Williams. Winter Garden's historic Edgewater Hotel may be repurposed after its recent sale. This is crazy. We actually toured this building, considering trying to maybe buy it for our own companies. And it was ran as, if you've ever seen where they've got the ice cream shop on the main level. They've got a barber shop on the main level. They've got the Thai restaurant. One of the best Thai restaurants, I think, in Orlando is right in that bottom area. But upstairs was kind of this bed and breakfast, and it was run by people that owned the building. But it just finally traded hands after a while here. So the building at 99 West Plant Street, it had 53 guest rooms, primarily centered to cater fishermen who traveled to the city at the time. This is back in 1927 when it was originally built. And they kind of go through some of the history of the overall building. Now, a lot of people were looking at what could this building actually be if it's currently kind of a Airbnb, or not even Airbnb. It's like a bed and breakfast. They had these center kitchens and living rooms in the middle with surrounding bedrooms all around it on multiple floors. We were pitched this idea of let's make it into like micro offices, or maybe you just blow out all the windows and doors in the middle and make it, more traditional office space. But if you've been downtown Winter Garden, you know this building. I'm kind of curious what you guys think that we still need in that downtown area. There's been so much new development, new buildings going on. So preserving something like this, I think, is important. But what else do you think we need in downtown Winter Garden? Let me know. Um, John says, evening, Ken from Scotland, UK. See, this is interesting. I wanted to do an earlier show to see if I could catch more people from across the pond because I remember when I would do it on Saturdays at like the afternoon, you guys were able to catch it before you went to bed. So what is it over there? It's 6 o'clock here. So it's 11 o'clock. So thanks for checking in. Dave said, did the $14.5 million house sell? Not yet, but we actually have had multiple showings. So we are on our way. Juliet says, hey, Ken from New York, soon to be Horizon West. Well, welcome, neighbor. Good to see you. Thanks for hanging out. All right. So what else do we got here? All right. So Apopka green lights residential development for new nurseries property. This is one of the reasons I'm mentioning this is because so often people ask me about Apopka, what's going on there? And you think about what else could be in that area because most of it is nurseries and old farmland. You're seeing properties like this trade hands pretty frequently in that area. Everything from wild oaks, which I think is going to be fantastic at build out, to all of the other stuff around Kelly Parkway. And so I do think that when you start to see some of these big things trade hands, Apopka could be sort of that next Winter Garden, that next Claremont as things continue to improve. One of the things I think they obviously need is more, they do need more retail. They do need more things other than what they have because they don't really have like a downtown core. And so in that, they're going to have to redevelop some of these bigger pieces of property and bring some of that new development in to make it an easier, better place to live. Let's see. Johnny says, what's up from Livonia? Good to see you, man. RD says, what's up? What's up? All right, let's pop over here to the OBJ. So Riley Benson with the OBJ. This is one story I think is important because so many of you guys are always talking about, hey, there's too much development going on. There's too many things popping around. Why don't they actually start conserving some of this land instead of just building on everything wild here in Florida? And so more than 1,000 acres in Central Florida are going to be off limits for development. There's going to be 958 acres on Double Eagle Ranch in Volusia County, and it's now protected permanently. The state program preserves farmland while allowing to still use it as agricultural use. And so you'll have a really low tax bill in that area for sure. More than 125,000 acres now statewide have been protected by this. And so this is a new one over there, Double Eagle Ranch. Now I'm kind of curious. Let's look this up here. Let's see where Double Eagle Ranch is. That's a movie? Let's see on the map here. Yep. There we go. Double Eagle Ranch. So where? Oh, this is pretty far away. So you've got Sanford up here, kind of really far east. So you got Oviedo, that seems to be, in Geneva are the closest places. So as you kind of go out to the east anyways, you're going to have a lot of this that is automatically, let's see, it looks like it's frozen on the screen. Is that moving? No. All right, it's over on the kind of like in between us and Cape Canaveral, where you already have a ton of wildlife preserves. So this is good. Obviously, the more we see of this, the better. One of the questions that people always ask is like, why aren't there more conservation areas in the Orlando area, like in Lake County and Orange County? And frankly, I mean, like just because it's trees or former orange groves doesn't mean that it's automatically going to be conservation forever. And obviously, those people that own the land, they need to do something with it. Many times, this is where the majority of their life savings is all tied up into. And so turning it into conservation is probably not the most ideal thing. But the fact that another 1,000 acres in Volusia County, hopefully that makes some of you guys a bit more happy. All right, let's pop over this one. This is, let's see. We're having an issue with this guy here. Let's see. Stand by. This is like the greatest part about being live. All right, there we go. We're going to go old school. Get rid of the changer here. All right, so Darden CEOs dishes on Olive Garden's new test menu. And so why am I talking about this up front? Because, we got to change this over here as well. This is awesome. On the fly. Boom. Can you guys hear me? Hi. Can't hear you, buddy. On mute. There we go. That's good times. Hold on, let's see. Add. Let's see. We love it. It's the greatest. Here we go. FaceTime. Get rid of it. There we go. And remove. Boom. There we go. Can you guys hear me? Let me know in the comments, please. That'd be great. Oh, that says I'm back. That's good. All right, cool. So I'm not sure if you heard that whole story. Oh, people are giving me the hands up. This is great. All right, so listen, really quick. Darden has Olive Garden in Orlando. 40% of the restaurants here are going to be adding a lower menu, basically, where they're going to say that 900 of them or so are going to offer the same exact menu, but it's going to be a test menu with a significantly smaller portion size. And so obviously portion control being what it is. But let me know, do you guys already think maybe Olive Garden has massively too big of portions to begin with? Or is this something that that you guys are going to take advantage of? I think that, listen, everybody's trying to save money everywhere that they can. And so I think this is an interesting kind of take for them. But let me know what you guys think down below. All right, here we go. This should be here. There we go. We are back as usual. All right, so this is a big story for Orlando sports. There we go. So the Greater Orlando Sports Commission bids to host 2027 the Federation of Women's Volleyball, and US and Canada are now competing against Italy and Turkey for joint hosting rights. Orlando is basically going after and bidding what's going on in the area. And so this is fascinating. So the story, I think it's great that they're trying to bring big events here to Orlando, but the story behind it is actually even more interesting to me of how all of this happened. So we've heard of like bidding for the Olympics before. We've talked about bidding for different places in Orlando. And what does that actually mean? I had never fully grasped it until I was asking somebody familiar with all of the stuff that's going on for bidding for Jacksonville to come down here and play with the Jags while their stadium's getting constructed. And so essentially they say, hey, listen, we're willing to say $2 million or $5 million or $10 million if you bring your event here locally. Now, do they have to write a check right away? No, they don't have to. But if they get chosen, then you could say, hey, now you have that money. We've now bid as a city to be able to say that if you choose us, you can use that money for marketing, to make the event bigger, to have more people on staff. I think it's just actually a fascinating process. So when you guys read in the OBJ or anywhere else you get your news, it's, I think, a kind of interesting piece. They're trying to push for getting more money for more opportunities for us to bid for some of these big events, because it has such a massive impact on our local economy. You think about when, like, say, Jacksonville played a season here, how much that would affect the downtown area, the local jobs, the local businesses, all that stuff happening in the area. I think is it's really exciting. And if you live here, you'd want to take advantage of all these different cool sports things. And so, yes, we don't have an MLB team yet. We don't have an NFL team, probably never, with everything going on and so close already in Tampa, Jacksonville, and Miami. But all of these other little pieces that you see that come here, I think, are really, really cool. This Saturday, Red Bull is going to be doing their tandem event in Altamont Springs. So all of those little things are because a lot of companies, or really the Greater Orlando Sports Commission, is going after them to bring that to Orlando. So if you don't follow them over on Instagram, I think you should. It's cool to support and see what all they're doing. Let's talk about hurricanes a little bit. Let's see. I'm going back over here. R&D says, so they're trying to the Seasons 52 Olive Garden, but Season 52 doesn't even do that anymore. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I'm kind of stoked about Season 52 opening up at Winter Garden, honestly. Less, I know it's a chain restaurant, but it just kind of feels a little bit less chainy, if that makes sense. All right, let's talk about some storms. So Orlando braces for potential storm as National Weather Service eyes developing tropical wave. Now, this is interesting. I started thinking back through, like, I know our typical hurricane season is June through kind of the end of October, but how did we fare last year? Because I'm like, hey, it's kind of the end of September, getting ready to go into October. We still haven't had a hurricane this year. And so going back to last year, sort of the overall records that we set, we had three hurricanes that actually made landfall. It was Debbie, Helene, and Milton. And those started in early or like mid August. And then we had another one 3 weeks later in September. And then another one in 13 days later, which is October 8th, we had Milton. And so we were getting pummeled back to back to back. It almost feels like if we can make it the next like 3 weeks or so, 4 weeks, hopefully we've got a pass this year. And we talk about insurance rates all the time. We think about rebuilding everything that's going on the coast right now. Like they need some reprieve to this sort of thing. And so it's kind of interesting to see that we've made it almost all the way to October before we're seeing it. Sorry, going through. Yeah, it says I went to Hash a Go-Go on iDrive last week, and those portions were wild. That place is so like confusing. I go to Hash House Go-Go, and that's like the menu is forever long, double-sided, and I never know where to start. And so I end up like skipping that one. So let me know, was it decent when you guys go? Is John a big Hash House a Go-Go person? Let me know. Yes. All right. The next one is I think it's necessary. This is a story from Click Orlando. Orlando considers adding more red light cameras. More than 60,000 violations were happening between July 2024 and June of 2025. Now, I actually didn't know this. Thankfully, I'm not skipping the red lights so often. But basically, people were complaining that they were, blowing a red light and then getting a bill in the mail. So each ticket currently costs $158, and it can increase to $262 if it's unpaid after the first notice. And so people are talking about, yes, it's revenue generator. Obviously, the city splits it. They received $4.2 million, and the state received $3.4 million in that current time. We've got 45 red light cameras currently at 25 intersections, and they're talking about increasing this. And so from people talking about public safety and all that sort of thing, is this something that deters you to drive better? Like when you get these in the mail, does it make you slow down and not blow those red lights? Is this better for safety? Or is this something that we should be like a little too big brother? There needs to be a police officer on site giving those tickets out. I'm curious your thoughts. Let us know down below. All right, getting back over here. A few more. All right, so Florida welcomes Success Academy to the state. So Florida Governor Ron DeSantis spoke on Thursday in Miami, and at the event, he talked about how the Success Academy, which is a charter school network, is coming to Florida. And so I had to figure out like what actually is that. We've been talking a lot about charter schools. We've been talking about school choice. We talk all that stuff that's going on in the state. How do they improve our school systems to hopefully become world-class and that sort of thing? And so looking over here, it says Success Academy is a well-known New York-based charter school that's expanding to Florida in 2027. They're starting it in Miami, and it was actually kicking off with a $50 million gift from investor Ken Griffin. And so you think through, again, school choice, public schools, they're opening up, it feels like everywhere. A lot of them are a bit more overcrowded, especially in those new development areas. And so I'm kind of curious with your feedback. Is it school choice that you love? Do you like the charter school idea that's coming to the area with more and more of these getting invested and built around our area? I'm kind of curious, some feedback from you all. Let me know. All right. A couple more things here. All right. So I still eat meat. I like meat quite a bit, but Orlando, you guys, if you are a vegan or a vegetarian, basically there's 18 million US adults that are vegan or vegetarian. How do they even know? I have no idea, but they say that that's the case. How did Orlando rank in terms of the most vegan and vegetarian friendly cities? And so we've got number 1 was Portland, number 2, LA, 3, Austin. Those make sense. Number 4, San Francisco, and Orlando ranks number 9 in terms of vegan and vegetarian friendly cities. We rank number 60 for affordability, number 7 for diversity and accessibility with quality. And overall, if you are a vegetarian, how easy is it to live as a vegetarian? We rank number 11. And so is this good? Let us know like your favorite vegan and or vegetarian restaurants down below. I've still not been able to like get into it, but my friends are. And so I need some more recommendations from you guys. Let us know what you love down below, please. All right, let's talk about a little bit of real estate if we can here. Let's see. Boom, there we go. Let's talk about real estate. So over the past few months, we're starting to see, kind of a shift in overall inventory here locally. So about a month ago, overall inventory has about 6 months, which is definitely more of a buyer's market in almost every single price point. We're starting to see a bit of a shift as inventory has started to come down, and which makes sense. We're getting later in the year where people are less and less likely to sell. They're kind of figuring out, I don't want to move my kids during school season and that sort of thing. But inventory has dropped now from 6 months supply of homes down to 5 months supply of homes. An average list price currently for all single family properties in entire 5-county area is $591,000. The average sales price is $548,000, which is still up year over year, which is wild to think when people are calling for crashes and they're calling kind of crazy things to happen, that we just kind of are seeing this sort of stabilization in general. Now, we still have a much more inventory than we do buyers actually out looking. And so there's still plenty of opportunities, especially in that new construction realm overall. And so going through the different areas, actually today we went through Horizon West and Wellness Way, talking to some of the builders. One builder in particular, Pulte at their newest neighborhood in Wellness Way, they were talking about they sold 20 houses over this past month, which is one of the biggest that they've had in quite some time. And so seeing people still flocking back over to new construction makes sense. They're buying down rates, they're buying, closing costs for you. There's just a lot of things that they're trying to do to incentivize to continue to move product. And so I'm just always curious, do you lean towards new construction? Would you rather look at something on the resale side and maybe more established area of town, like our guy talking about Lake Alfred, obviously not super established area over there in general. So mostly new construction in that kind of area. So that's it. We have the comment sections kind of giving me some fits tonight. And so we're going to wrap up for the evening, but I appreciate you hanging out. Let me know if you're watching the show later on. Did you miss the show because you're waiting for 7 o'clock? I know that's usually when we show up, but it's good hanging out with you for those of you that did. We'll see you guys on the next video. Bye.